on the VinceEverettEllison Show. We're going to talk about how black history is mostly just the history of black oppression and how that needs to be changed because it's having a devastating effect on the minds of America and black people. We're going to talk about that today on the VinceEverettEllison Show. All right, let's get this thing started. You know, y'all, to let history tell it, black people all over the United States of America has only had the hell beat out of them for the last 225 years. I mean, we haven't done anything except get kidnapped from Africa, ride over here on slave ships in the Middle Passage, pick cotton, be oppressed by the white man doing Jim Crow, being freed by Martin Luther King Jr., and now, what are we now? Yeah, I guess we just drinking 40s and singing hip-hop music now. That's just, that's what we good for now. And we need DEI. Yeah. White folks keeping us down because they won't give us DEI. And Donald Trump hates us. That's black history in a nutshell. Black folks being mistreated by white people, mostly white conservatives, here in the United States of America, and us being weak and timid and puckified and not being able to do anything about it.
Now we're entering historic Kelly Ingram Park. Kelly Ingram Park is going to become the site of the largest, at the time, civil rights demonstration in United States history. When Fred Shuttlesworth and Dr. King came together, they planned something called Project C. The C stood for confrontation. They were supposed to confront just injustices, racism, and bigotry wherever they could find it. The largest part of Project C, however, would have been D-Day, and D-Day was May 2nd. D-Day stood in short for Demonstration Day. And on Demonstration Day, thousands of young people came down to this area. When these demonstrators came into this park, they were faced with the Birmingham Fire Department using high-pressured water hoses to disperse them. But most notably, they were faced with the Birmingham Police Department. And the Birmingham Police Department employed the use of dogs. Here we have an iconic image that's been taken from an Associated Press photograph of the event. Now, this photograph circled the world. And when this circled the world, it made stops in the Kremlin, but it also made stops at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where President Kennedy said that this made him sick. And what he did as a result of this is he called for the Civil Rights Bill. And this Civil Rights Bill was going to be more sweeping and more comprehensive than anyone proposed to that date and that time.
We will never forget.
Y'all, that's only about maybe 35, 40% true. A lot of it is true because the people that have not lived that way, Democrats don't want you to know about them, because if black people ever learn how to fight and function in their freedom properly, they're a dead party. They don't want you to know that in the Civil War, even though most of the black slaves stayed on the plantation and picked cotton and built ramparts and everything for the Confederacy, they don't want you to know about the over 200,000 black men that are listed up north. 87% of all eligible black men enlisted and came down and fought for their freedom. They don't want you to know about that. They might mention it, But most people didn't know anything about that until they made the movie Glory about the Massachusetts 54th. Hell, I didn't know much about it until I saw the movie. They don't want you to know about this statement made by Abraham Lincoln when he came down to telling black people how to function in their freedom, because they want you to believe that the government sets you free, and that if the government doesn't give you your freedom, you have no freedom. Richmond had fallen. And Richmond, for those of you who don't know, it was the capital of the Confederacy. And in April of 1865, it had fallen, and Abraham Lincoln wanted to see Richmond. So he came down, and he was coming down the James River, and he ended up being on a small boat because, of course, big ships can't come up on the coast. So they put him on a small boat, and they were paddling him to the coast. And sitting there on the banks of the river, of course, were free black slaves, because when the Confederate Army fled Richmond, the slaves there could no longer be held in captivity, so they were basically emancipated, and they were there in the city. And here comes Abraham Lincoln on this little rowboat. Yeah, he was unmistakable. He's 6'4", had this beard, had this top hat on. And these slaves are looking, and Lord have mercy, here comes Abraham Lincoln. Can you imagine how they felt seeing this? And Abraham Lincoln, as he gets closer and closer, more and more freed slaves gather at this point to greet him and see what he has to say. Lincoln has no security contingency around him. He's basically alone with a few sailors and Admiral Porter. And there was a black sergeant there. His name was Isaac J. Hill of the 29th Regiment of the Connecticut Coloreds. The 29th Connecticut Colored Regiment. And Sergeant Isaac Hill, wrote about what he heard Lincoln say. And it's very, very profound. I've only heard this lately. I was watching a documentary on Lincoln on Apple TV. And it was called Lincoln's Dilemma. I think it's like a 4 or 5 part. And 15 minutes before it ends, it talks about this. This is what Abraham Lincoln said. He said, in reference to you colored people, let me say, God has made you free. Although you have been deprived of it, of your God-given rights, by your so-called masters, you are now as free as I am. And if those who claim to be your superiors do not know that you are free, take up the sword and the bayonet and teach them that you are. Hold it for a minute. Abraham Lincoln said, number one, that God has set you free. Well, land of Goshen, I thought that Martin Luther King Jr. said that 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, the Negro is still not free. And that we've come here to Washington, D.C., to demand our unalienable right to freedom. Even right now, you got black folks running around in the United States of America saying, I ain't free, I ain't free. And you got Abraham Lincoln coming and telling you, I did not set you free. The Union Army did not set you free. Juneteenth celebrates the day that the Union Army came down and told them that they were free, told black people they were free. And you got Abraham Lincoln standing there right now telling you, God has made you free. He didn't say God set you free. That's how much of a wordsmith Lincoln was. You were made free. When he made you, you were free. See, to be set free meant that you were a slave at one time. Lincoln said you never were a slave. You were made free. And then he said, although you have been deprived of your God-given rights, you were just deprived of them. It did that you didn't have them. You were deprived of them. It's like you owning a car and somebody takes your car for a while, you were deprived of it. That doesn't mean you don't own your car. That car is still yours. You've been deprived of your property. And you have a right to go get it because it's yours. This is why Lincoln was so good at how he spoke. He said, you were made free, but you have been deprived of your God-given rights by your, and this is another one, so-called masters. He didn't say masters. Your so-called masters. He said, you are now as free as I am. And if those who claim to be your superiors, what did he say? Claim to be. Not who are your superiors, claim to be. He says they're not your superiors, they claim to be. Who claim to be your superiors do not know that you are free. Take the sword and the bayonet and teach them that you are. Did Lincoln say go do a march? Go do a sit-in? Go sing, we shall overcome. He said, no. If a joker has the nerve to come up to you and try to tell you you ain't free, you take your sword and your bayonet and show him that you are. Second Amendment. Where does your freedom come from? Your right to keep and bear arms. Let's turn in our guns and let's march. This isn't what our Black history teaches us. Man, you can't go to a Black History Museum without them showing shackles and chains and whips and stocks. You can't go to a black city unless they got statues of dogs getting sick on children, places where black men got hung, Emmett Till memorials, Lorraine Motel where Dr. King got shot, statues in Birmingham with the dogs being sick on the children, Freedom Riders, a bus station where the Freedom Riders got the hell beat out at a bus station, plantations where they're showing chains and slave quarters. Training a whole nother population on a lie that you ain't nothing but a victim and you can't do anything for yourself. So you walk around and say, Lord, have mercy, Lord, land of Goshen, we can't do nothing. And Abraham Lincoln said, get the sword and the bayonet. Teach them you're free. Well, we can't do that, Lord. They might fight back. Stay on the plantation then. Yeah. You know, we go around, y'all, and we complain and we complain and we complain, and we deal with this crazy hypocrisy. I mean, and I don't know, as I said before, white people got a whole lot more patience than I got, because I don't deal with a lot of this stuff. I see how they, these black preachers running around trying to demand that the government give them more money for HBCUs. And I'm like, well, I thought y'all wanted to integrate. Well, we want to integrate, but we want some more money for HBCUs. Okay, tell me how that works now. You want to integrate, but you want more money for HBCUs. Yeah, that's right. I'll tell you what the government should do. They said, since you jokers been hollering about integrating so much and DEI and affirmative action and quotas and stuff at Harvard, why don't we do that at these HBCUs? What do you mean? Well, most of them are state-funded colleges and universities, aren't they? SC State, Alabama State, Jackson State, Grambling State. Yeah, funded by the state, right? Yeah. Okay, well, let's look at the population of this state, right? Yeah. Okay, and let's make sure that the white population at this HBCU is commensurate with the white population in this state. What do you think about that? Well, hold on there, boss. We don't want that. Well, I don't want to hear anything at all about DEI, affirmative action, ever again. Until you start applying that to these HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, I don't hear nothing about it. If you want to integrate this school, we got to integrate that school. You know why they can't do that? Because they know probably no white people want to come to those HBCUs because they're so poorly run. That's the stupidest thing I ever saw in my life, man. These black college professors, black folks, said, we want to integrate into HBCUs, right? You say, okay. And at the time, some of the best college football players in America were going to them. Walter Payton went to them. Jerry Rice went to them. You know, you name it. A lot of great players went to HBCUs. Tennessee State and Grambling and Jackson State was turning out great players. But they wanted their players to integrate into the white schools. And now all the best basketball players and all the best football players go where? There you go. Our best minds. You know, Thurgood Marshall went to Howard, but guess what Thurgood was, man? He wanted to go to the University of Maryland. They wouldn't let him, so he sued the University of Maryland. So black children didn't want to go to Howard anymore. Now they want to go to the University of Maryland. Ain't that stupid? So he wanted to go to Maryland, but they wouldn't let him into Maryland. So he went to go to Howard. He went to Howard with an attitude. And ended up suing Maryland, so black children could not go to Howard, but go to Maryland. That's how we think. And then you want to wonder why black folks feel like they're oppressed. You're your own oppressor. Talking about black pride. And then you ask the DEI. If you really had black pride, and pride is a sin, let's say black high esteem, black self-esteem. If you really had that, and somebody offered you DEI, you say, I don't need DEI, you're going to need it. Just like it's like going on the basketball court, offering Jordan 20 points. He's going to look at you and say, what? You think I need 20 points? You're going to need it. Yeah, like I said, integration of HBCUs. You want to integrate, but you want to keep your HBCUs. That's hypocrisy. It's crazy. Talking about you love the hood, but you lament the murder and the crime. The hood is murder and crime and dope. But you love the hood, but you say, we got to stop all this crime and all this murder and all this dope. You don't have the hood. The hood ain't the suburbs, man. You think these kids coming out the suburbs who say, I love the suburbs, talking about murder and crime and all that kind of mess? No. You say you love the hood. What is the hood? Murder, crime, dope, single motherhood. And then you lament what happens in the hood that you love. We all remember that movie, Boys in the Hood? Don't nobody care about what happened in the hood. Hell, you don't care about what happened in the hood. Ice Cube just got through killing 2-3 jokers in the hood, selling dope in the hood. They ain't gonna talk about nobody care about what happening in the hood. Boy. Talk about you love Christians. I love Jesus Christ. Oh, I'm a Christian. And then you're going to love hip-hop and them no good, greasy, lying black preachers. All of them. I mean, not all of them. Vast majority of them just no good whatsoever. You can't love Jesus Christ and love these Negroes too. They are against everything Christ stands for. Abortion. Not just abortion up to the 9th month. Pulling God out of the public square, putting drag queens out of public education. Pulling God out of public education, putting drag queens in. Taking the Bible out of libraries, putting porn in. Allowing demented men to go into the bathroom with your wife and daughter, transitioning your children. Allowing drugs on the street that's killing people. Allowing sex trafficking on the street through these open borders that's killing people. Lying and saying you can control the weather. Climate change. Oh, but I love Jesus Christ. Jesus on the mainland, tell him what you want, then you're going to march and ask the government for everything you need. Now you ask Jesus Christ for it. No, we'll ask the government for it. Yeah. White man is racist. Conservatives are racist. But you want to make sure that the government has all the power that it can have. So when Donald Trump is trying to cut government, all y'all fighting and raising hell in the street. I thought the government was racist. But you want Donald Trump, the person you call racist, to educate your children. He's trying to destroy the Department of Education, send it back to the states, but you want him to educate your children, your health care, give you your food. When if you believed that the government and Trump was racist, you wouldn't want them to have any power over you. You try to shrink the government to be as inconsequential in your life as possible. You even want them to educate your children. Trump trying to give you school choice. Republican governors trying to give you school choice. Say, if you don't, send your child to the Nation of Islam school if you want to. No. We want you to do it. You know why? It's very simple. Public education is designed by the Democrat-controlled governments to control the minds and the education of the population, so that population will always support them and fall in line. If you don't take nothing with you, please take this. Governments are not supposed to control the education of their citizens. Citizens are supposed to control the education of their government. We got it backwards, y'all. This is what they do in communist China. This is what they do in Iran. This is what they did in the Soviet Union. The governments got control of the educational system and controlled the population and made them afraid to rebel against them and put them in a position where they can do whatever they wanted to do. And that's how the black community and poor folks are in America when it comes to the Democratic Party. The government is their God. They do what they're told. The government, they look at government like this is our leadership. And that's something like that, man, that really makes me mad. We got to start getting the nomenclature correct in this country. Like Abraham Lincoln said, I'm a free man. Nobody lead me. You're my government, I lead you. You don't tell me what to do, I tell you what to do. We need leadership. I need to be left alone. Maybe you need leadership. You need somebody telling you what to do every day, when to get up, when to go to bed, how much you're worth, how much money you should make. Man, Frederick Douglass talked about his autobiography. No one will forget this. He talked about, it reminded me of America today, how we become slaves, how you become slaves. Frederick said that his master had rented him out to work on the docks in Baltimore. And that at the end of the week, the guy that ran the docks would give Frederick his money, but he gave it to him in an envelope, sealed. And Frederick was ordered to take that envelope of money to his master, who hadn't done any work that week, nothing. He just kind of sat at home at the mansion. Frederick goes to his master, gives his master the envelope. And Frederick talks about how his master opened up the envelope and pulled out the money that Frederick said, I had earned. Frederick talking about himself. He said, money that I had earned. And he counted out, as Frederick said, my money in front of me. He had no right to it. He had not earned it. He had not worked for it. And then he kept the part of my money that he wanted and gave me the little bit that he wanted me to have. And Frederick talked about how it incensed him to have his master do that to him, is one of the reasons why he escaped off that plantation and got his own freedom. Now I look at America today. The majority of this nation, before we even see our checks, now not me, I work for myself, the government takes the money out and then gives you what they want you to have. You didn't earn it. I mean, they didn't earn it. They didn't work for it. They sat behind a desk, either at the state capitol, the city council, or in Washington, D.C. And what do we do as Americans? What do you do as Americans? You allow them to take it. What did Marvin Gaye say in his song, Make Me Want to Holler? Money, we make it. Before we see it, you take it. Oh, it makes me want to holler the way you do my life. Makes me want to holler the way they do my life. This ain't living. This ain't living. But you say you want freedom. And you choose a government that's going to raise your taxes every single solitary year and take it out before you even see it. Man, I'd never vote for a politician talking about raising my taxes, taking my money, what I've earned. Taking it? No, I pay my taxes, but you know what? I give it to him. He ain't going to take it. He's not going to take it. We have to understand what it means to be free again. We have to understand what it is to live as Americans again. The one thing that happened this week that I was amazed at. I saw it. I was happy with it, and I was perplexed with it. It was these officers in Memphis who had killed this young motorist named Tyree Nichols. They were acquitted. They were found not guilty of the murder. They have civil rights charges on them from the federal government. They were found not guilty of the murder. I was happy because after being found not guilty, the residents didn't burn the city down. And I was perplexed by it also. Because I know that if those officers had been white and had been found not guilty, man, black folks would have tore Memphis up. They'd have burnt it to the ground. Now tell me why. Why are we so hypocritical when it comes to color that if white officers beat a black motorist to death, we burn down a city, but if black officers do it, we don't? I'm glad they didn't burn it down. But that should let you know how we praise blackness to a fault in this nation. If the same actions had been taken by white men, they would have destroyed this. They would have burnt down. It didn't even happen in L.A. They'd have burnt L.A. up. They'd have burnt up D.C. They'd have burned Memphis. They'd have burned up Newark in New York and Chicago. I remember when Rodney King got killed. They were just burning up stuff all over the country just because they burned it up. George Floyd, same thing. Why? White men did it. But black men do it. You know, this lie, this myth that cops just going around just killing black men. Y'all, when you look at the records, it's very seldom that over 20 black men are ever, 20 unarmed black men. Now let's make this clear. Unarmed black men are shot by police every year. It's hardly even 20. But they have led you to believe that there's some type of epidemic of black men being shot by cops. That's not true. As a matter of fact, in 2019, there were 7,300 black homicides in the United States of America. Over 90% of them done by black people. Don't talk about that. Oh, but let a white cop kill one. There is an hypocrisy in the black community that puts it in a position where it will not hold itself to a high standard. There's an hypocrisy in the black community that causes it to look at the white man as God and as himself as an inferior. They do not care how many of us we kill. Even though we live in close proximity to each other, we should be demanding that since we live in close proximity to each other, that we treat each other with love and respect. That will keep the murders down. No. Why? They have to keep the black community believing that somehow or another the all-powerful white man is here and is trying to kill you, and the only thing that keeps him from doing that is your good white liberal neighbors in the Democratic Party, because black men are too cowardly to deal with it themselves. And because of that, they feel that they are not free. They believe that they are not free because they must still depend on their white benevolent master to protect them. I watched this movie today. Saw a good majority of it. I didn't want to watch it, man, because I knew it was going to be hard to watch. It's this movie that Will Smith was in called Emancipation. It came out in 2022. It is a depiction of this black slave. I think we've all maybe seen the picture that has all the scars on his back. But it doesn't tell you the story that he became a soldier in the army, in the Union Army, and came back and fought for his freedom. I know it was going to be brutal, and it is. But it was something pretty interesting in the first 15, 20 minutes of it. When Will Smith is taken off of, and his name is Peter in the movie, so I call him Peter. So when Peter is taken off his plantation and is hired out basically to help build a railroad for the Confederacy, when he gets to the camp where they're torturing slaves and killing them and just making them build this railroad, there are black preachers there. And these black preachers are telling the slaves, slaves, obey your master. This is what God wants. Slaves, work hard. This is what God wants. I make this point because this is what I've been telling you ever since I've had this podcast, and I've written it in my book, The Iron Triangle, and I've said it everywhere I've gone, that the black preacher has always been under control of the white masters in the Democratic Party, and their job is to keep black people afraid and subdued so that they can be under control of the Democratic Party. At the beginning of this movie, it shows this same group, the ancestors of the black preachers today, and not all of them, just the vast majority, doing what they've always done. Tell the black folks to obey their master. Who is the master? The Democrat, the white Democrat. And they do it today. Say you love Jesus, but you're going to follow a blasphemer? There's no color in the gospel. These jokers want to keep you afraid so you can stay in that black church and keep paying your tithes. Because every well-rounded Christian knows that there's no color in the body of Christ. And a lot of these white preachers have come and tried to reconcile and make and come together with all these black preachers. They will not have it because they know that if we ever come together, and that's black and white Christians, and instead of them trying to recruit a white Christians to their church, they're trying to keep black Christians from leaving their church. And you know what? And the churches are dying anyway. Emancipation is hard to watch. But if you take nothing else from it, you take this. That when you look at the white man disrespecting and beating and killing and murdering these black men, they were all Democrats. And if you look at the white Democrats now and the way that the black community is dying, the way that it's being destroyed, the dysfunction in it is being controlled again by white Democrats. The past hasn't changed, and it's not even the past. It remains. Self-perpetuating. It's orbital unless something comes and shakes it up. This crazy hypocrisy of black self-hatred and love for the white Democrat master is insanity. And all around the world, people look at it and they're amazed at it. They're amazed that black people are this stupid. That you actually have the nerve to ask for integration and HBCUs. To talk about black pride and then ask for DEI. To say that you love Jesus Christ and then march and have to ask permission from government and the white man to have anything. To say that you love your children, but you trap them into failing schools. When the government's offering you school choice to let them go somewhere where they get educated. When you walk around saying that Jesus Christ is my everything, and he says that you are free, that he made you free, and nevertheless you say, I'm not free. Why am I having a shyster, no good, lying black preacher like Martin Luther King Jr., who said in I Have a Dream speech 5 times that you were not free when Jesus Christ said that you were free, and even Abraham Lincoln said that God made you free. It's an unalienable right. is irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. And he put that crap in your head. Talking about on some certain day you'll be free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty you're free at last. Until every last white person in America looks at you and loves you, you ain't free. Even though Jesus Christ said, I made you that way. Abraham Lincoln said, God set you free. Our Constitution and our Declaration even says it. And you deny it because a bunch of shyster and lying white Democrats and black preachers told you. You're even ashamed of yourself. But again, I go by what the great emancipator said, Abraham Lincoln. And I'm going to read you this statement one last time before I let you go. He said, in reference to you, colored people, let me say, God made you free. Although you have been deprived of your God-given rights by your so-called masters, you are now as free as I am. And if those who claim to be your superiors do not know that you are free, take the sword and the bayonet and teach them that you are. Well, I'm going to tell you something, and I ain't ashamed or scared to say it. That's always what I've done. I don't really have a sword. Don't really have a bayonet. But I know what Lincoln was talking about. It's come to tell you that if a joker trying to come up, take something from you, put you in chains, make you a slave, you tell them this. Say what you want. Think what you want. If you don't like me, that's your problem. You put your hands on me, you're going to have another. And if that ain't good enough for you, if you try to take anything from me, hurt me or mine, I got two things that'll get you off of me. And that is Jesus and my 38. Don't try me. Abraham Lincoln is my kindred spirit. Hell yeah, Abe. That's America. Begging and snotting and sniveling cowards. I can't stand them. And you women out there, if you see a man that's that way, turn away from him. If he walks around telling you he oppressed, he ain't free, get away from him. It's not worth your time. Teach your sons to stand strong. Teach them to look men in the eye. Teach them to say that I'm American. Teach them to say that I'm free. Teach them to say that I am a child of God, because I'm going to remind you of it every chance I get, because I'm here to wake you up. And I hope I did you some good today. So join me again for another edition of the Vince Everett Ellison Show. All right, friends, Vince Everett Ellison is here. I want you to go to my website. And on my website, you're going to see a lot of great stuff, man. You're going to see that we got T-shirts, we got caps, you got my books, my documentaries, you got all kinds of stuff on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Go there. We're dropping new T-shirts. We're dropping new merchandise. My new book, The End of Tolerance, is there. The End of Tolerance. Make sure you get it. Make it #1. If you got my first 3, get The End of Tolerance. It's just as good. And it's telling us we have to end our tolerance with these leftists, these Democrats. We can no longer allow them to sexually groom our children. We can no longer allow them to castrate little boys and call them little girls, run God out of the public square, take away our guns, take away our sovereignty. No longer allow it. So go on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. That is VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Hit merchandise. You'll see the T-shirts. You'll see the caps. You'll see the books. You'll see the documentaries. You'll see it all. And let's keep this ball rolling. God bless you.